Well, hello and welcome to another Daily Dominion. It is Tuesday and we have the archetypical Hinterlands kingdom here, in that we have stuff that interacts with discarding, stuff that interacts with hand size, some on-gain stuff, on-buy stuff, and of course the most complicated card of them all, develop. And you can see the kingdom over here. And yeah, I guess develop is there. Border Village also a strong village variant, which you buy for 6, but then, or you gain for 6, but then you also gain a cheaper card with it. Highway is able to lower costs globally, and that allows, for example, a Weaver to pick up cheaper cards. As, I don't know, if you play 2 highways, you can already use Weaver to gain a border village and another highway or whatever. Haggler lets you gain cheaper cards than the cards you bought, although they are non-victory cards. And something that is kind of absent here is strong draw, although if you manage to reduce your hand size, for example by playing Oasis or playing Border Village and then a Souk, you get to reduce your hand size, and then guard dogs will draw you 4 cards instead of just 2. And the thinning is also not too bad, as we have Spice Merchant to early on thin your coppers and cycle while doing so. And also the on-buy or on-gain for Souk is very, very strong, allowing you to trash up to 2 cards from your hand. So early on, the goal is going to be trying to get our hands on 5 money to buy a souk, and hopefully even more than that, even trash out the estates, use Spice Merchant to trash out the coppers. And yeah, I think that's about it. We are going to want to get our hands on as many border villages as possible, as these are kind of the bread and butter. There are 2 ways to go here, I guess. One can either just build a very monolithic deck, focus on highways, souks, and border villages, maybe weave in 1 or 2 guard dogs, 1 or 2 oases, a spice merchant early on to thin down, and then gun for the provinces. Or one can try to play around with Weaver, like Oasis discarding Weaver. After playing Highway, that's a nice venue, and also fiddle around with develop stuff. I think this is not a like kingdom where develop is necessary, although you certainly can play with it. And I think it's actually best to just gun for this border village souk highway strategy, because it's just the most consistent. I've played this 3 times before this on the train, and I've experimented a bit also early on with which cards you want to get. And of course, I mean, if your Spice Merchant misses the first shuffle, you're already a bit behind. But I think early on, you just want to focus on these cards, and Weaver you should only get situationally. I mean, it is great with Oasis, I don't deny that, but just monolithically going for Border Village Souk Highway is incredibly, incredibly strong. And the Kingdom plot reflects what I said. The draw is only there in guard dog, and that's not all too strong, but it certainly can be activated here and thus be a viable venue. But for that, you also need many border villages to make that work. And yeah, I guess opening wise, we have the 4-3, and that means we can go for Spice Merchant Oasis, and I guess also Spice Merchant Silver is a possible opening. The nice thing about Oasis and Spice Merchant is that in principle you get to trigger a new shuffle. So if you see the Spice Merchant on turn 3, you get to trigger a shuffle on turn 4 that will again contain the Spice Merchant. And the problem about the opening is that it's not guaranteed, actually far from guaranteed, to hit 5. I mean, you can certainly hit 5 by drawing 5 coppers or 4 coppers and an oasis and discard whatever card you get, but it's, I think, less likely than if you open Spice Merchant Silver. I might also be wrong, I didn't calculate it. And you really, really want to hit 5 early on, and so maybe if you only hit 3 on another turn, you might want to go for a silver then, to go for that Souk, and then as soon as you have Souk, you don't care anymore. You can even add a second Spice Merchant. Like, the perfect draw would be to hit 5 and 4 on the turn 3 and 4, and add both Souk and Spice Merchant. And thus also on the 5-2, I mean, it's a bit slower because it doesn't get you thinning immediately, but opening Souk and nothing is still fine, because then you can gun for Border Village as soon as you see the Souk in your hand and get going that way. And with that, I think that wraps up the discussion of the pre-kingdom discussion, and we can just go for our Spice Merchant Oasis. And this is already, yeah, not the greatest thing to see. I think here we just add a silver actually, because now we might hit 5, we might also not hit 5. We do hit 5, but it was not guaranteed. And thus we now add the Souk and are going to actually, I think, just, we could trigger the shuffle with the Souk and the Oasis in it. It would be a short shuffle, but maybe it's best to just add a secondary Spice Merchant. Like, we don't care that much about decreasing our hand size, about trashing our coppers, as long as we do find the Souk. As long as we do find the Souk, I said. Okay, we don't find the Souk. And thus we probably want to add either Souk or Highway. Next turn we're going to buy the Border Village. Not this turn though, so this is probably just a Highway then. And it nicely lines up with the Souk, with our plus buy, so we get to add a Souk while trashing 2. And 2 estates at that. Now last card is, I believe, the Oasis, and we are getting nice and thin here. I think we play this first so we can see what to discard with the Oasis there. And we even find both of the Souks and the silver, and that's just an amazing draw. I guess one could also even think about just discarding the silver there and then trashing out copper estate, but I think that the copper is fine. What we want to do here, I guess, is add another Highway and another Souk. And now we could either go for a guard dog or just a develop to try to develop our Spice Merchants. And I think develop might be better. Could be wrong though. I guess we start out with playing that. Now we could, I guess, develop something like one of the Souks into Border Village and Weaver. But in the optimal case, we want to find our develop with the Spice Merchants. So I guess we discard this here. Trash the silver, draw 2 cards, hope to find the other Spice Merchant. We're not guaranteed to. We could find Souk Spice Merchant in the worst case, but I think, yeah, or okay, worst case we even find this hand, but that's also fine. We get to top deck a guard dog with our other border villages there, and just go Border Village, Highway. Or actually, is that true that we want to do this, or would we rather just play those Souks? And I think it's a bit greedier to just go for the Souks here, but I think it might be what we want to do anyways, just to add as many border villages as possible. And now add 2 of the guard dogs. because we didn't manage to do that before that. Yeah, like these past draws weren't optimal, in my opinion. Seeing all of those Souks there was not great. And also this is not exactly the draw I want to see, although this should be fine now. And I should have kept... I think, yeah, keeping that in hand there is fine. Here we want to maybe develop a souk into border village weaver, or just one of the spice merchants. Actually, one of the spice merchants into probably highway and oasis. Now, what is our action situation? We don't have any more border villages, I believe. Otherwise, I would play this just for plus buy. But in that case, we probably just want to draw here, play these highways, and just discard the guard dog. Play those souks, gain yet another souk. We're a bit close to a pile out. Like AI has lowered the fool's golds quite a bit. But yeah, we can just play it really calmly, I guess, and add more of guard dog highways. I guess even Souk would be fine, and a province for safety. And hopefully draw something a bit nicer here, like something like a village. No village. Come on. This is just awful. Yeah, if we draw there, we finish the game, I believe. But since no village wanted to show up in that hand, we just have to make do with what we had, and thus can play this souk here. And now I guess lower our hand size again. Turn this into a gold at this point. Yeah, it's a bit annoying that we played so many highways, but yeah, do we have more highways down there? I don't believe so. So I guess the gold is fine. Not the greatest thing to have. And play that. And buy out the rest of the provinces. But yeah, we had this nasty dud on turn 11 where we surely would have finished. Like, our deck would have also been nicer for this turn. But yeah, I don't know. We skipped the weavers. As I said, you certainly can go for the weaver stuff, but also I would say we didn't have the juiciest draws. Like early on, there was this shuffle where, yeah, where we just got stuck a bit, and I don't know. I have played this before. As I said, I can actually again showcase the fastest of the playthroughs in just a second. Wait. And I've set it up, and there it is. It was indeed a 9-turner, but for this you really need to have the perfect early draws and go for... I mean, Spice Merchant Oasis is the opening, but then I think there on the reshuffle on turn 3 I bought a Souk, on turn 4 I bought the second Spice Merchant, and then was just rolling. And the develop also nicely turned the Spice Merchants into highways and guard dogs. Not this in this playthrough, I believe we drew our develop at the wrong time to properly proceed. Yeah, and still, this was a fun one to showcase, and I hope you got the gist. I do believe it's also possible to play nicely with weavers here, but it's just even more unreliable. I mean, you saw how unreliable this deck was, even though we had lots of border villages and guard dogs, and yeah, still we dotted on turn 11, even though we added like the perfect mix, I would say. Now, that wraps up this video, and with that, I'll leave you here. We'll try to catch you in the next one, and until then, goodbye.